Jonah hadn't eaten in days. Not because he was picky, not because he was sick, he simply forgot he had a brother. At least, that's what everyone else seemed to believe. But the Black Nanny knew better. She carried a secret so strange, so powerful, that it could bring back lost memories, or erase them forever. And tonight, in the flickering glow of the miracle box, Jonah's world was about to change. Shadows whispered, golden light danced, and a forgotten promise waited to be remembered, if he was brave enough to hold on. Before diving into the gripping details of this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to stay updated for more thrilling stories. 8-year-old Jonah sat at the kitchen table, his thin arms wrapped around himself like he was trying to disappear. The plate in front of him was untouched, again. 3 days without more than a few sips of water. 3 days without a single smile. 3 days since his mother's funeral. His father, Caleb, stood by the doorway, shoulders slumped with an exhaustion that sleep could never fix. He tried coaxing, begging, bribing, nothing worked. Jonah stared at his plate as though food itself was an insult. When Miss Laverne arrived that afternoon, she stepped into the silent house like a warm summer breeze after weeks of rain. Her presence filled space the way sunlight fills a room, naturally, without trying. She had been the family's nanny years earlier, back when Jonah was just a toddler and Caleb's wife was alive. She had left to care for her own niece, promising she'd return if the family ever truly needed her. They needed her now. Miss Laverne removed her coat, set down her bag, and placed one gentle hand on Jonah's bowed head. "Baby," she said softly, "you look like you're fading on me." He didn't answer. Caleb swallowed hard. I don't know what to do. He just won't eat." Miss Laverne nodded with a knowing sadness. "Grief steals appetite. But sometimes," she added, lowering herself to Jonah's level, "the heart needs feeding before the body does." She tapped her chin thoughtfully. "Good thing," she said with a wink, "I brought my magic kit." Caleb blinked. "Your what?" But Jonah's head lifted the tiniest bit. Miss Laverne opened her old, worn bag and pulled out a small wooden box Jonah remembered from years ago, carved with stars, moons, and tiny dancing animals. She set it in front of him gently, as though it was made of something precious. "You still remember the nanny's miracle box?" she asked. Jonah's lip trembled. He nodded. "Your mama loved this box," Miss Laverne whispered. "Said it made you eat better than any doctor's advice. Want to know the trick again?" This time, Jonah's nod was a little stronger. Miss Laverne opened the box, revealing nothing. It looked completely empty. But then she did something slow and deliberate. She cupped her hands over Jonah's and closed her eyes. "Now listen here, sweetheart," she murmured. "This box isn't about magic in wood or hinges. The magic is in remembering. Your mama used to say that every bite of food you take is a way of staying strong enough to carry her love." Jonah's eyes filled instantly. Miss Laverne squeezed his hands. "Today, the box says your mama left you a little message. But you can only hear it if you take one small bite of food, just one. The message won't unlock unless you do." Caleb stared, hardly daring to breathe. Jonah looked at the plate. At the box. Back at Miss Laverne. Slowly, shakily, he picked up a single forkful of mashed potatoes. He took a bite. The tension in the house snapped like an old string. Caleb's eyes blurred. Miss Laverne exhaled, relief and hope softening her face. The moment Jonah swallowed, Miss Laverne opened the box again. And inside Inside was a folded piece of paper that hadn't been there a moment ago. Jonah gasped. Caleb stepped forward, stunned. Miss Laverne unfolded the note with trembling fingers. But before she could read it aloud, Jonah suddenly jerked his head toward the hallway, his eyes wide, startled, almost fearful. "Dad," he whispered. "Miss Laverne, someone's upstairs." Caleb froze. Miss Laverne's face drained of color. Because they all knew. The house was supposed to be empty. Caleb's breath caught in his throat. For a moment, no one moved. The only sound was the soft ticking of the clock on the wall, tick, 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 each second tightening the knots in their chests. "Jonah," Caleb said carefully, "what did you see?" The boy didn't blink. "A shadow. Walking past Mom's room." Caleb's stomach twisted. He forced a thin smile, trying not to alarm his son. "It's probably just the light from the window." Miss Laverne didn't look convinced. She rested a calming hand on Jonah's shoulder. "Sweetheart, are you sure it wasn't just your imagination? All this hurt inside can make shadows seem alive." But Jonah shook his head, fear hollow in his eyes. "It wasn't my imagination. His voice broke. "It looked like someone was watching us." Caleb's pulse hammered. The house had been locked. He had double-checked every door. Every window. Every night. Miss Laverne straightened, her voice low and steady. "Stay here with Jonah." "No," Jonah whispered, grabbing her sleeve. "Don't go up there." She covered his hand. "I won't go alone." Caleb drew a breath, bracing himself, and stepped quietly toward the stairs. Each creak under his feet felt like a warning. Miss Laverne followed a step behind him, her posture calm but her eyes sharp. Halfway up, she murmured, "Caleb, look." A faint glow, soft, warm, golden, was seeping out from under the door of his late wife's bedroom. Caleb's grip tightened on the railing. That room had been dark for days. Jonah watched from below, clutching the miracle box to his chest, knuckles white. The air around him felt charged, as if the house itself was holding its breath. Caleb reached the door. Placed his hand on the knob. Turned it slowly. The door eased open. He stepped inside. And stopped. Miss Laverne gasped softly behind him. Because the room wasn't just filled with light. It was glowing, gently, like the last minutes of sunset, and floating above the bed was a scattering of tiny, shimmering particles, drifting in slow circles like dust caught in sunlight, except these glowed from within. Caleb whispered, What is this?" Miss Laverne shook her head, awed. "I don't know. But it's not coming from anything I can see." Then Caleb saw it, something on the bed. A journal. His wife's journal. The one they never could find after she passed. It lay open, like someone had just set it down. Caleb reached toward it. But downstairs, Jonah suddenly cried out. "Dad!" The note in the box, it changed. Caleb and Miss Laverne whipped around and rushed back down the staircase. Jonah stood frozen at the table, staring at the small paper in his trembling hands. Caleb knelt. "What does it say, buddy?" Jonah swallowed, voice barely audible. "It says, 'Don't go upstairs alone again.'" And at the bottom, he looked up, trembling. "Dad, it's Mom's handwriting." Caleb's heart stopped. Miss Laverne covered her mouth. Before anyone could speak again, the lights flickered, once. Twice. Then the house plunged into darkness. Darkness swallowed the house so completely that for a moment none of them breathed. Then Jonah whimpered, soft, scared, and Caleb's instincts snapped into motion. He pulled his son close, wrapping an arm around him protectively. "It's okay, buddy. I'm right here." Miss Laverne reached across the table until her hand found Jonah's. "I'm not going anywhere, sweetheart." But though her voice stayed steady, her pulse thudded wildly in her throat. A second later, the electricity surged back. The lights blinked on, dim at first, then steady. But something had changed. Jonah's plate, the one he'd barely touched, was now empty. Scraped clean. Not a smear of mashed potatoes remained. Caleb stared. "Jonah, did you eat?" Jonah shook his head, terrified. "I didn't touch it." Miss Laverne leaned in, her face tightening with concern. "Then someone, or something." She didn't finish the sentence. Because at that exact moment, the wooden floor above them groaned. One slow, heavy step. Then another. The unmistakable sound of footsteps. Caleb instinctively pulled Jonah behind him. "There's someone up there." Miss Laverne's expression hardened, not fearful now, but resolute. "Caleb, listen to me. The light we saw in your wife's room, the journal, the box, this isn't something trying to hurt us." Jonah clutched the miracle box tighter. "Then what is it?" Miss Laverne knelt beside him, smoothing his hair with gentle fingers. "Sometimes grief blurs the line between seen and unseen. Sometimes love doesn't leave cleanly." Jonah bit his lip. "So, it's Mom?" Caleb's breath hitched. The idea both warmed and shattered him. "I don't know," he whispered. "But I'm starting to think your mom left more behind than just memories." Another step upstairs. Caleb turned toward the staircase. But then, bang! The sound exploded from above, like something heavy had fallen. Jonah screamed and buried his face in Caleb's shirt. Miss Laverne jolted but stood quickly. "Caleb, we can't keep guessing. We need to see what's happening." Caleb hesitated. His hands were shaking. His heart was heaving. But Miss Laverne stepped closer, lowering her voice. "You aren't going up there as a man chasing a shadow. You're going as a father who needs answers. And I'm going with you." Jonah looked up at both of them, eyes glistening. "Don't leave me." Miss Laverne's face softened. "You're coming with us, sweetheart. Together. No one faces this alone." Caleb nodded. "Stay between us." They formed a tight little line, Caleb in front, Jonah in the middle clutching the miracle box, Miss Laverne behind them like a guardian. Step by step, they climbed. The house grew colder. Quieter. The air felt thick, like the moment just before a storm breaks. At the top of the stairs, the hallway stretched ahead, dim and trembling with shadows. The door to Caleb's wife's bedroom stood slightly open again, even though he'd left it wide open minutes before. A chill climbed Jonah's spine. "Dad," he whispered, "the box is warm." Caleb froze. "Warm? What do you mean?" Jonah lifted the wooden miracle box. It was glowing, faintly, like a small ember cradled inside it. And then, the lid creaked open on its own. Something inside shifted. Caleb reached toward it. But before his fingers could touch the box, a voice, soft, familiar, impossibly close, whispered down the hallway. "Caleb, don't." The three of them stiffened, breath trapped in their lungs. Because they all recognized the voice. It was hers. Caleb's knees nearly buckled. That voice, gentle, warm, threaded with a sorrow he knew like the lines on his own palm, drifted through the hallway like a breeze carrying memories. Jonah's eyes filled instantly. "Mom." Miss Laverne tightened her grip on Jonah's shoulder, steadying him and herself all at once. "Easy now, baby. Sometimes the heart plays tricks." But even she didn't sound convinced. The voice came again, barely more than breath. "Not the box, not yet." Caleb swallowed, his throat burning. "Honey," he whispered into the quiet. Is that you?" Only the creaking of the old house answered. Jonah trembled so hard the glowing miracle box rattled in his hands. "Dad, what does she mean, not yet?" Caleb didn't know. He felt helpless, suspended between hope and fear. Miss Laverne stepped forward, her tone resolute but soft. "Caleb, look at the floor." He did. A faint trail of shimmering particles, the same ones they'd seen floating above the bed, now dusted the hallway floorboards. Like breadcrumbs of light leading toward the bedroom door. Jonah whispered, "Is she trying to show us something?" Caleb's heart clenched. "Maybe." Miss Laverne nodded. "Or trying to keep you from something." Slowly, cautiously, they followed the faint, glowing trail until they stood at the doorway again. Caleb pushed it fully open. The golden particles swirled gently in the air, drifting like slow-motion fireflies. The journal still lay on the bed. Still open. Still waiting. But something new now rested next to it, a small silver locket Jonah hadn't seen in years. His mother's locket. The one she never took off. Jonah gasped. That's hers." Caleb felt a fresh wave of grief wash over him. He hadn't seen the locket since the day she was admitted to the hospital. They'd searched for it everywhere. Miss Laverne touched her chest, tears softening her eyes. "Lord have mercy, how did it get here?" Caleb took a step into the room. As he reached for the locket, the pages of the journal fluttered, though there was no breeze. The paper turned itself until it landed on a page he recognized immediately. His wife's handwriting. A date circled at the top. A date from months before she passed. Jonah tried to peer around him. "Dad, what does it say?" Caleb's eyes scanned the page, widening with every word. This is about you, Jonah." Jonah's breath hitched. "Me?" Caleb read aloud, voice cracking. "If anything ever happens to me." Jonah must never open the miracle box alone. He must only open it with someone who loves him enough to face the truth with him. He broke off, staring at the page in disbelief. Miss Laverne's hand flew to her mouth. "She wrote that? Months before she died?" Caleb nodded, trembling. "And there's more." He read the next line silently, and froze. "Caleb?" Miss Laverne whispered. "What does it say?" Caleb lowered the journal, pale and shaken. "It says, the box was never meant to hold a message." Jonah blinked. "Then what was it for?" Before Caleb could answer, the miracle box in Jonah's hand snapped shut with a sharp click. All the glowing particles in the room froze in place, hanging in the air like stars caught mid-fall. Then the house shuddered. Not violently, more like something deep within its walls had just awakened. Jonah clung to Caleb. "Dad, I'm scared. Caleb pulled him close. It's okay. I've got you. Miss Laverne's face hardened with protective courage. Tell us, Caleb. Tell us what she wrote. He opened his mouth. But the bedroom door slammed shut behind them with thunderous force. The lights went out again. And in the suffocating darkness, the same familiar voice whispered. Soft. Urgent. Breaking. You're not alone, but you're not safe. For several long, breathless seconds, there was nothing but darkness and the echo of that impossible whisper. Jonah clung to his father's side, shaking so hard that Caleb could feel every tremor. Miss Laverne reached for them in the dark, her steady hand finding Caleb's shoulder. Stay close, she whispered. Nobody moves alone. The golden particles, once drifting gently, were frozen in midair like suspended stars, glowing just bright enough to paint faint outlines across the bedroom. Their dim shimmer revealed the journal on the bed, the locket beside it, and the miracle box in Jonah's hands, now tightly shut. Caleb swallowed hard, trying to keep his voice steady. Honey, if you're here, please, tell us what you mean. No answer. Only silence thick enough to make the air feel heavy. Miss Laverne inhaled slowly, gathering courage the way she always had, quietly but powerfully. Caleb, read the next line. Whatever she wrote, we need to know. With trembling hands, Caleb raised the journal again, angling it toward the faint shimmer of the glowing motes. He found the last sentence on the page, the sentence he hadn't spoken out loud before the door slammed. The words made his heart beat painfully against his ribs. Caleb, Miss Laverne urged softly, what does it say? His voice cracked as he read. The box doesn't hold a message, it holds a memory that must be shared to be understood. A memory Jonah has forgotten, but one day will need. Jonah's breath hitched. A memory? Of me? Caleb nodded, eyes glistening. A memory she wanted us to face together. Miss Laverne rested a hand on Jonah's back. Baby, whatever it is, you're not facing it alone. You hear me? But Jonah's gaze had drifted, past his father, past Miss Laverne, toward the far corner of the bedroom. Dad, look. Caleb turned. The shimmering particles, once frozen, were slowly drifting toward that corner, gathering into a soft, swirling shape. Almost like a silhouette. Almost like someone standing there, blurred by light and distance. Caleb felt the world tilt beneath him. No, it can't be. Jonah stepped instinctively closer, eyes wide with a kind of desperate hope. Mom? Miss Laverne pressed a protective arm in front of him. Wait, sweetheart. Wait. The glowing form didn't move. Didn't speak. It only shimmered in place, like a reflection on water. Then something in the miracle box clicked again, quiet, sharp, final. Jonah yelped and nearly dropped it. The lid sprang open. A soft, golden mist drifted out, not bright, not frightening, gentle, warm, like the scent of his mother's perfume carried on a dream. The glowing silhouette shifted. Caleb reached out a trembling hand. Honey, if that's you, give us a sign. The figure flickered, once, twice, then slowly raised an arm. It pointed at Jonah. Jonah froze. Caleb's heart lurched. Why, him? Miss Laverne whispered, because the memory, the one she wrote about, it belongs to him most of all. Jonah shook his head. I don't remember anything. I don't. But he stopped. Because the moment the words left his mouth, another voice, this one small, fragile, tinged with sadness, whispered from behind him. "Yes, you do." Jonah spun around. Caleb and Miss Laverne did too. And standing in the doorway, pale, trembling, eyes filled with something between fear and recognition, was a boy Jonah's age. A boy none of them had ever seen before. A boy who looked directly at Jonah and whispered, "You forgot me." For a moment, no one breathed. The strange boy stood in the doorway, silent, pale, eyes glistening with something raw and heavy. His clothes were simple. Familiar, even. The kind kids wore years ago, not now. Jonah's trembling fingers loosened around the miracle box until it dangled uselessly at his side. Caleb instinctively stepped in front of him. "Who are you?" he demanded, voice low but laced with fear. The boy didn't answer. His gaze stayed locked on Jonah, as if the rest of the world simply didn't exist. Miss Laverne moved slowly, protectively, beside Caleb. "Sweetheart," she said to the child gently, "if you're lost, we can help you. Do you know your name?" The boy blinked. A tear slipped down his cheek. "I did," he whispered. "Before Jonah forgot me." Jonah took a stumbling step back. I don't know you. I've never seen you before." But even as he said it, something inside him twisted. A feeling like a memory straining against a locked door. The glowing silhouette in the corner flickered more brightly. Caleb's voice trembled. "Jonah doesn't remember anything like this. Please, tell us what you want." The boy lifted his chin, expression breaking into quiet heartbreak. "I don't want anything," he whispered. "I want him." Caleb froze. Miss Laverne inhaled sharply. Jonah shook his head so fast tears scattered from his eyes. "No," Jonah sobbed. "I don't know who you are. I don't." But then, something shifted in the room. A faint chime rang from the miracle box. The pages of the journal fluttered violently, slamming shut with a thud. And the glowing silhouette in the corner slowly lifted an arm, pointing not at the strange boy, not at Jonah, but at the locket on the bed. Miss Laverne's eyes widened. "Caleb. She wants you to open it." Caleb hesitated, heart pounding so loudly it nearly drowned out his thoughts. But he moved toward the bed anyway, drawn by something deeper than fear. He picked up the locket. Its metal felt strangely warm, alive, almost. Jonah cried out, voice cracking. "Dad, don't." The mysterious boy flinched as if stabbed. "Please," he pleaded, "don't open it yet. He's not ready." The glowing silhouette brightened, stronger now, insistent. Caleb's hands shook. "Honey, if you're guiding us, please help me." He pressed the small clasp. The locket clicked open. A soft puff of golden light burst outward, gentle as breath. Inside was a tiny photograph, one Caleb knew well. A picture of Jonah as a toddler, giggling in his mother's arms. But beside it, pressed into the other half of the locket, was something else. A second photograph. Jonah gasped. So did Miss Laverne. It was a picture of two little boys. One was Jonah, younger by years, and the other was the strange child standing in the doorway. Jonah's legs nearly gave out. No, that can't be real. Caleb's world tilted. His stomach dropped. "Jonah, do you recognize him now?" he whispered. Jonah pressed both hands to his head. I don't know. I don't remember him." I don't remember this. The boy in the doorway sobbed into his hands. You promised you wouldn't forget me, you promised you'd never leave. Caleb stared at the photo, voice barely breath. Why would your mother hide this? Why didn't she tell me? Miss Laverne's voice was shaky. Caleb, look at the date on the back. He turned the locket. His breath caught. The date wasn't one he recognized. It was 2 years before Jonah was born. Caleb swallowed. That's impossible. The glowing silhouette flickered angrily, its form wavering like a candle struggling for air. Then, Jonah screamed. The miracle box in his hands burst open with a violent pulse of golden light, flooding the room. The strange boy shielded his face. Miss Laverne fell to her knees. Caleb grabbed Jonah, but the light was too bright, too fierce. And Jonah's own voice echoed through the blinding glow. I remember. The light vanished. The room plunged again into silence. Caleb blinked away the spots dancing in his vision. Miss Laverne staggered to her feet. And Jonah stood frozen, staring at the strange boy. I remember you, he whispered, voice hollow. You were. His breath caught. The boy waited, trembling. You were my. But before the words left his mouth, a deafening crash erupted from the hallway. The house shook. And then, a deep, echoing voice unlike anything they had heard before thundered. He is not yours to claim. The voice slammed through the house like a storm breaking the sky. Caleb staggered backward, pulling Jonah into his arms. Miss Laverne grabbed the dresser to steady herself as a cold rush of air swept through the bedroom, blowing open drawers, rattling picture frames, and scattering the glowing particles like startled fireflies. The strange boy's face went white with terror. No, he whispered. No, he found me. Caleb's pulse hammered. Who found you? Who is that? But the boy only shook his head, stepping back as if trying to melt into the shadows. Jonah clutched Caleb's shirt, voice breaking. Dad, what's happening? What's going on? Miss Laverne moved close, her voice steady despite the tremble in her hands. Caleb, that voice didn't sound like your wife. No, he whispered. It didn't. The house groaned, walls tightening, floors creaking, as if the structure itself were bracing against something powerful and unseen. Then the voice boomed again, deeper this time, shaking dust from the ceiling. The memory is not for him to keep. Jonah whimpered and covered his ears. Miss Laverne stepped forward with surprising courage. Whoever you are, she said firmly, you have no right frightening this child. A burst of icy wind slammed the door behind her with a thunderous crack, cutting her off. The strange boy cried out, stumbling toward Jonah. Please, don't let him take me again. Caleb's heartbeat stuttered. Again? What does that mean? The boy looked at him with an agony too old for his young face. It means, I didn't disappear because Jonah forgot me. His voice cracked. I disappeared because he made Jonah forget. A silence followed so heavy it felt alive. Jonah stared at the boy through trembling lips. But, why? Why would someone make me forget you? The boy hesitated, then looked toward the hallway with a terror that told them the truth was far worse than anything they'd guessed. Miss Laverne put a steady hand on Jonah's back. Sweetheart, tell us. We're here. We're not letting anything happen to you. The boy swallowed hard. Because, his voice dropped to a trembling whisper. Because Jonah and I were never supposed to meet. Caleb's eyes narrowed. What does that even mean? You're in photos together. My wife kept those photos. She hid them, why? The boy shook his head. She hid them to protect you. To protect all of you. Jonah took a small step forward, voice tiny. Protect us from what? The boy's lips parted, but he jerked violently as the whole hallway went pitch black. Every light upstairs flickered out at once. Then. Footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Measuring. Not human. Not rushed. Not hiding. Coming closer. Jonah yanked the miracle box to his chest, shaking uncontrollably. Dad, he's coming. The boy backed away, tears running openly now. Don't let him take me again. Don't let. A shadow stretched into the doorway, long, tall, impossibly thin, as if the darkness itself had grown shape and intention. Caleb pulled Jonah behind him. Miss Laverne stood firm, jaw set, eyes brave even though her hands trembled. The shadow paused, then began to rise, as though lifting itself from the floor, forming a towering figure without a face, without edges, a silhouette of pure blackness against the dim shimmer of the room. The boy screamed. Caleb grabbed Jonah's hand. Get behind me, now. The shadow surged forward. Only to stop abruptly when the miracle box in Jonah's hands flashed with a sudden burst of gold. The same soft, familiar voice they had heard before whispered, right beside Jonah's ear. Run. Caleb didn't think. He grabbed Jonah, grabbed Miss Laverne, and bolted toward the hallway. But as he reached the doorway, the shadow's enormous hand slammed down, blocking their escape. The boy in the corner cried out. He wants the memory, not me. Caleb turned, horrified. What memory? What did Jonah forget? The shadow lunged. The golden silhouette, Jonah's mother, flared like lightning, throwing herself between her family and the darkness. A scream, not human, tore through the hall. Light and shadow collided. The world shook. And in the blinding burst, Jonah suddenly remembered. A face. A place. A promise. His knees buckled. I remember who you are, he whispered, staring at the strange boy through tears. You're my. Before he could finish, the world went white. Then black. And Jonah's voice faded into nothing. Darkness swallowed everything. Not the kind that flickers. Not the kind that comes from a blown fuse. This was deeper, thicker, like sinking into ink. Caleb's voice was the first to pierce it. Jonah. Jonah, where are you? He reached into the blackness, hands clawing at empty air, panic roaring in his chest. He could feel nothing. Not the wall. Not the floor. Not Miss Laverne. Only cold. Jonah, he shouted again, voice cracking. A faint groan answered, small, weak, drifting from somewhere nearby. Dad. Caleb spun, heart leaping. Jonah. Keep talking to me. I'm here, but I can't see anything. Then Miss Laverne's voice floated through the dark, steady, thank God. Caleb. Jonah. I'm with you, I just can't find you. The three voices hovered in the void, close yet impossibly far. And then, faint footsteps approached, soft, light, childlike. The strange boy. He wasn't crying anymore. His voice was calm, eerily calm. "He separated us," the boy said. "That's what he does. He breaks families. He breaks memories. He broke ours." Jonah's voice trembled. "Why? Why would he do that to us?" The boy hesitated. "Because of what we were, before." Caleb bit down his rising fear. "Before what?" The boy didn't answer. Instead, the darkness began to swirl, slowly, spiraling like water draining from a basin. A faint glow ignited within it, a dim golden pulse, beating like a tiny heart. Jonah gasped. The miracle box. It hovered in front of him, suspended in midair, shining through the black. Miss Laverne whispered, "Oh Lord, it's never done that before." The box clicked open again, soft this time, not violent, and inside, glowing gently, was a single folded slip of paper. The same handwriting as before, Jonah's mother's. Jonah reached for it with shaking fingers, but the moment he touched the paper, the darkness around them shuddered. A deep growl echoed, furious, ancient. "That memory is forbidden." Jonah flinched. "Dad." Caleb pushed forward, fighting the heavy dark like wading through freezing water. "Jonah, don't listen to him. Take the note." But the boy's voice cut in sharply. "No. Don't." Everyone froze. Jonah's hand hovered above the glowing note. Caleb stared at the strange child. "Why not? Tell us the truth. Why shouldn't he see it?" The boy looked at Jonah with an expression of pure sorrow. "Because once you remember, nothing will ever be the same again." Jonah swallowed. "But I want to remember. I need to." The boy shook his head, tears sliding soundlessly down his face. "You don't understand. Remembering me means remembering what you lost." The darkness growled again, cracks of red light ripping through the void like lightning. "He does not belong to you." Caleb shielded Jonah instinctively. Miss Laverne's voice rose with fierce strength. "Then who does he belong to?" The darkness heaved, swelling like it was breathing. The boy turned toward them, trembling. "He belongs," his voice cracked, "to the truth." And Jonah, braver than his shaking hands, opened the note. A burst of golden light swallowed the darkness like morning swallowing night. The world spun. Voices blurred. Something warm, familiar, wrapped around Jonah like a hug he'd forgotten he ever felt. And as the light dimmed, a scene appeared around them. A playground. 2 little boys. Laughter. Small hands clasped. Jonah stared. "That's me." "And me," whispered the strange boy. A younger version of Jonah hugged the boy tightly. "I'll never forget you," little Jonah whispered in the memory. "I promise." The scene froze. The golden light flickered. Caleb choked on a breath. "Oh God." Then, the memory began to dissolve, pulled apart by long, black, claw-like shadows creeping in from every corner. The deep voice thundered one final time. He was never meant to remember his other brother. Jonah's scream tore through the collapsing vision. "Other, what?" But before he could finish, the memory exploded. And they were thrown back into darkness. Silence. For a long, trembling moment, there was nothing, no voice, no shadow, no light, just a ringing in the air, sharp and thin, like the echo of a scream that had been swallowed by the dark. Then the world began to return in fragments. A faint glow. A shape. A breath. A heartbeat. Caleb was the first to gasp back into awareness. He was on his knees. The air was cold. The floor beneath him felt like wood again, real, solid. He blinked hard, vision swimming. "Jonah," he rasped. "Jonah." A soft groan answered behind him. Caleb spun and found Jonah collapsed on the floorboards, curled around the miracle box like it was the only thing anchoring him to the world. "Dad," Jonah whispered, pale and shaking. "I saw it. I saw everything." Miss Laverne staggered upright beside them, clutching her chest as she breathed out a trembling prayer. "Thank heaven, we're back." But the room didn't look fully normal. Shadows clung to the corners, too heavy, too deliberate. The air hummed with the same tension felt before a storm breaks. And the glowing particles that had once hovered like stars now hung low and dim, as if exhausted. Then Caleb saw the strange boy. He was standing in the middle of the room, staring down at his own hands. Hands that were fading. Fading like mist. Jonah lurched to his feet. "No. Stop, stop fading. Don't go." The boy looked up, tears tracking down his transparent cheeks. "It's happening again," he whispered. "He's taking me back." Caleb stepped forward, protective instinct roaring anew. "Who? Who is taking you? What is he?" The boy shook his head miserably. "He's the keeper of lost memories. He takes what can't stay. He takes people who don't belong." Jonah's voice cracked. "But you do belong. You were my. He stopped. The word trembled on his lips, heavy with new truth, painful and staggering. "Brother." Caleb closed his eyes, the reality hitting him like a blow. His son, his little boy, had once had another brother. Not adopted. Not imagined. Not symbolic. Real. Miss Laverne let out a soft cry, covering her mouth. "Oh, sweet child." The boy's fading figure flickered, weak, breaking at the edges. "I was born before Jonah," he whispered. "A long time before. But I didn't get to stay. Mom kept me close in memories, in stories she never told out loud." Caleb's throat tightened. "Why didn't she tell me?" "She tried," the boy said. "But the keeper erased me from everything except her heart, and Jonah's. Because Jonah was the only one who wasn't afraid of remembering me." Jonah sobbed. "I didn't want to forget you. I didn't want to." The boy knelt, what was left of him, and reached for Jonah's hand. Their fingers passed through each other like fog through air, and it broke both boys in two. "You didn't forget because you wanted to," the boy whispered. "You forgot because he made you." The room trembled. A low rumble, distant, thunderous, rolled through the walls. Miss Laverne stiffened. "He's coming back." Jonah whirled toward the dark hallway. "No. He can't take you again. You're my brother, my family." The boy stood, flickering like a candle in wind. "That memory was never supposed to stay," he whispered sadly. "You weren't supposed to hold on to me." But then. The miracle box in Jonah's hands glowed. Brighter. Warmer. Stronger than ever. The boy froze, eyes widening. "That light," he breathed. "Jonah, that's not the keeper's power." Caleb looked at the box, stunned. "What is it, then?" Miss Laverne answered softly, awestruck. "It's your mother. The glow swelled, gentle but fierce, like the heart of a sunrise. And then, a burst of golden warmth shot outward, wrapping around the fading boy, solidifying him piece by piece. His arms, his face, his outline. He gasped. Jonah gasped. Caleb couldn't breathe. "She's fighting for me," the boy whispered, voice trembling with awe. "She's holding me here." Another rumble. Louder. Angrier. A wind of darkness surged down the hallway as the keeper's voice roared. "You cannot defy me." The golden light flickered. The boy flinched, half fading again. "Jonah," he cried. "Don't let go of the box. Don't let her fight alone." Jonah clung to the miracle box with both hands, tears streaming. I won't lose you again." The light flared brighter. And the keeper's shadow slammed against the doorway like a tidal wave of night. Caleb grabbed Jonah, shielding him. Miss Laverne braced herself beside them. The boy stood in the center, half solid, half light, trembling between existence and erasure. And then, a woman's voice, soft but fierce, whispered through the room. "Not my sons." The golden light exploded. And everything went white. White. Soft. Endless. Weightless. For several long seconds, the world was nothing but light, warm, gentle, wrapping around them like a blanket woven from sunlight and memory. Jonah blinked first. "Dad." "Miss Laverne." Caleb shielded his eyes and slowly made out shapes, 3 of them. Miss Laverne on his left, holding onto his sleeve. Jonah on his right, clutching the miracle box to his chest. And in front of them, the boy. No longer fading. No longer transparent. Solid. Real. He stared down at his own hands in wonder, flexing his fingers. I can feel again." Jonah let out a half-sob, half-laugh. "You're here. You're really here." Caleb swallowed, overwhelmed by equal parts relief and disbelief. "This light, your mother, she did this." Miss Laverne pressed a trembling hand to her heart. "Bless her soul, she's still fighting for you. All of you." The boy looked up, eyes glowing with gratitude and fear. "She's holding him back. But she can't do it forever." A tremor rippled through the white void, like a single crack forming in flawless glass. Jonah flinched. "Is that the keeper?" The boy nodded. "He's furious. This place, the white, it's your mother's protection. But it won't last unless we finish what she started." Caleb stepped forward. "What did she start? What does she want us to do?" The boy hesitated. Miss Laverne knelt so she was eye level with him. "Sweetheart, you can trust us. Your mother trusted us enough to bring us here." The boy exhaled shakily. "I'm not the only memory the keeper erased." Jonah's eyes widened. "What do you mean? There's more?" Before the boy could answer, the white space shook again, harder this time, and a jagged line of darkness split through the air like a tear in fabric. Caleb pulled Jonah close. The boy looked toward the widening crack, fear returning to his face. "He's breaking through." A voice, deeper than thunder, boomed through the void. "You cannot hide from what you fear to remember." Jonah shook his head. "We're not afraid of remembering. We just don't know what it is." The crack widened outward like a door being violently forced open. And through the darkness, something moved. Something tall. Something slow. Something ancient. But before the keeper fully emerged, the glow around them pulsed again, brighter, almost desperate. And then she appeared. A figure of light. A woman's outline. Soft hair flowing like drifting sunlight. Jonah gasped. "Mom." Caleb's breath broke. "Honey." The glowing silhouette raised a hand, trembling, strained, as if holding back a flood. Her voice came through the light, soft but fierce with love. "Caleb, you must listen. Jonah, my sweet boy, you must be brave." Jonah stepped forward, tears falling freely. "Mom. I remember him now. My brother. I remember." The light flickered, almost like a smile. "I know, sweetheart. But there is more you haven't seen, more he took." The crack behind them erupted with a roar. The keeper's shadow surged forward. But the mother's light slammed into it, holding it at bay for another moment. Caleb shouted above the shaking, "What more did he take? What aren't we seeing?" The silhouette reached toward Jonah and the boy, her hands trembling. "Your family wasn't broken by memory. It was broken by fear." Jonah felt the miracle box heat in his hands. The boy grabbed his arm. "Jonah, open it. Now." The keeper roared. "Don't you dare." The mother whispered. "Open it, Jonah." Jonah swallowed hard, hands shaking, heart pounding. He lifted the lid. A burst of golden light shot upward, twisting, swirling, forming images too fast to grasp. Faces. Rooms. Cries. 2 babies. 2 boys. Hands reaching. A door closing. Jonah gasped. The boy staggered. Caleb fell to his knees. Miss Laverne covered her mouth. The images froze. And one final, clear picture formed in the air. A hospital room. His mother crying. A doctor shaking his head. And Jonah, a newborn, reaching out toward an empty space where another crib should have been. The boy whispered, broken. "That's why I didn't stay." Jonah stared at him, tears streaming. You died?" The boy lowered his eyes. "I wasn't supposed to. But when I did, the keeper came. He takes the memories that hurt too much to bear. Mom fought him, but she couldn't stop him alone." The mother's silhouette flickered violently, cracks of darkness tearing through her glowing outline. Caleb reached out. "Honey, stay with us." Her voice quivered. "I'm out of time, you must finish this." The keeper stepped fully through the crack, towering, faceless, darkness pouring from him like smoke. The boy screamed. Jonah clutched the miracle box. Caleb and Miss Laverne shielded them both. The keeper lifted a massive shadowed hand. "Return the memory or lose the boy again." Jonah shook his head wildly. "No. I won't lose him again. I won't." The mother's silhouette flickered, shrinking. "Jonah," she whispered, "you have one choice left." Caleb grabbed her fading hand. "Honey, tell us what to do." Her voice broke. "To save one son, you must risk losing the other." The white world shattered. The world did not shatter into darkness this time. It shattered into pieces. Shards of white light flew outward like broken glass, drifting around them in slow motion, glowing faintly as they fell into a vast, swirling gray. Caleb felt ground beneath his feet, but it wasn't wood, or carpet, or anything earthly. It was like standing on mist that somehow held his weight. Miss Laverne braced herself beside him, breathing hard, clutching her necklace like it was a lifeline. Jonah stumbled, nearly dropping the miracle box. His brother, no longer fading, grabbed his arm to steady him. The keeper hovered above them now, towering and terrible, shadow dripping from him like tar. Where his face should have been, there was only a gaping emptiness that pulsed in and out like a breathing wound. Jonah's mother's light, once so warm, now flickered like the last flame of a dying candle. Caleb shouted up to her. "Honey! What do you mean? What choice?" Her form shook, as though each word cost her more than she had left. "If you let the keeper take the memory, your oldest son will fade again." Jonah gasped and clutched his brother's hand. The boy squeezed back, trembling. Caleb's heart twisted painfully in his chest. "What's the other option?" Her voice cracked, a sound full of love and fear and impossible hope. "Keep the memory, and the keeper will take Jonah instead." The world went silent. Even the swirling gray around them seemed to freeze. Jonah staggered backward, horrified. "Me? Why me?" The keeper's hollow voice rolled through the void. "Because he was never meant to remember both worlds." Miss Laverne threw out her arm as though she could shield the children with her own body. "No. There has to be another way. God wouldn't bring us through all this just to tear these babies apart." The mother's glowing silhouette flickered, wavering. "There is another way, but it is the most dangerous." Caleb stepped forward, grabbing at the light of her arm even though his fingers passed through it. "Tell us. Whatever it is, we'll do it." Jonah looked up at his mother, tears spilling. "Please, please don't let him take either of us again." His brother clung to him, terrified but brave. "I don't want to disappear, but I don't want you to be taken either." The mother extended her trembling hand toward the miracle box. "Jonah, open it again." Jonah shook his head vigorously. "I already opened it. It showed us everything." Her voice softened with aching tenderness. "Not everything." A deep rumble shuddered through the gray. The keeper reached outward, long shadowed claws stretching across the space toward Jonah's brother. "Time is up." Caleb lunged forward, shouting, "No!" But before he reached the children, the mother's light flared, brilliant, desperate. "Jonah! Now!" Jonah threw open the miracle box. This time, instead of golden light, a blinding burst of silver fire exploded upward, piercing through the swirling gray and striking the keeper square in the chest. The keeper recoiled, staggering backward with a roar that shook the world. The silver fire streamed around Jonah, around his brother, coating them in a fierce, shimmering glow. Caleb shielded his eyes. Miss Laverne dropped to her knees, whispering a frantic prayer. And Jonah's mother's voice, faint but urgent, echoed through the blaze. "This is the memory he couldn't erase, the one I hid even from myself." The light twisted, forming an image. A tiny hospital blanket. A frail, crying infant. A doctor shaking his head. A mother begging, pleading, refusing to let go. Jonah whispered, breathless, "That's my brother." The image shifted, showing the same baby later, smiling faintly, wrapped in his mother's arms as she rocked him in the quiet of night. "You lived?" Jonah breathed. The boy stared at the vision, stunned. I don't remember this." Then the final image formed. The mother, exhausted, clutching both infants, Jonah and his brother, while a dark figure loomed in the hospital doorway. The keeper. His shadow stretching over the beds. Her voice now trembled with raw emotion. He didn't take your brother because he died. He took him because he lived. Jonah's breath hitched. Caleb's knees buckled. The boy whispered, voice breaking, he stole my entire life. The keeper shrieked, furious, and lunged through the silver fire. The mother cried out, Jonah, take his hand, now. Jonah grabbed his brother's hand with both of his. A shock wave tore through the space. The keeper's claws slashed downward. And the moment before they struck, the mother's voice shouted, remember him completely, now. Jonah's eyes widened as the final memory rushed toward him. A memory he never knew he had. A memory that would change everything. And then the world snapped to black. Black. It wasn't silence this time. It was thundering emptiness, as though the world itself was holding its breath. Jonah's hands were still clasped around his brother's. He could feel him trembling, but his brother's small hand was solid, real, warm. Caleb crouched beside them, heart hammering, trying to make sense of the void. Jonah, can you hear me? He whispered. I can hear something, Jonah admitted, voice shaking. But I can't see anything, except the box. The miracle box floated in the air before them, glowing faintly. Its golden and silver light pulsed like a heartbeat. Miss Laverne knelt on the misty floor, her hands raised as if to catch the glow. Hold on to it, Jonah. Do not let go. Whatever is coming, this is your anchor. A whisper floated through the void. Not threatening, not dark, but impossibly powerful. Remember. Jonah's heart stuttered. The word carried more weight than the air he breathed. He closed his eyes and focused. Then the memories began to pour into him. Laughter from his brother's first steps. Soft lullabies whispered at night by their mother. Tiny hands clutching his own in the hospital room. A promise they had made, he hadn't understood it then, but now he could feel it deep in his chest, we will always find each other. Jonah gasped. I remember everything. The boy looked at him, wide-eyed. You really do? Yes. Jonah cried, tears running down his face. I remember you. I remember me. I remember us. The silver and golden glow from the miracle box exploded outward, forming a protective dome around them. The keeper's shadow shrieked, a sound so deep it rattled their bones. You dare to defy me? The blackness outside the dome churned, clawing at the edges of the light. Shadows twisted into shapes, hands, faces, eyes, everything the keeper had stolen. Caleb shouted, Jonah. Keep holding on to him. Don't let go. Jonah's grip tightened. His brother squeezed back, and the glow from the box flared brighter than ever, so bright it cast shadows away in every direction. The mother's silhouette flickered beside them, her voice trembling but strong. This is it, the memory is complete. But the keeper, he won't let go without one final choice. Jonah's eyes darted between his mother and the keeper's encroaching shadow. A final choice? What choice? The keeper's voice boomed from everywhere at once. One child. Or the other. You must choose who lives in memory and who returns to oblivion. Jonah's breath caught. His brother's small hand was still in his, but fear shone in the boy's eyes. Caleb pressed against Jonah's back. You don't have to do it alone. We're with you. Miss Laverne's voice rang like steel. There is another way. Jonah. But you must trust the memory, trust the love. Jonah swallowed, heart pounding in his ears. He looked at the miracle box, glowing like the heart of the sun, then at his brother. I won't lose you again, Jonah whispered. The keeper howled in rage. The mother's light flared one last time. Then hold on to him, and remember everything. The box began to spin, faster, brighter, silver and gold entwining, pulling shadows and fear into its center. Jonah gritted his teeth, holding his brother tightly. And in that moment, the room felt like it stretched to infinity, the line between light and shadow blurring. Then the keeper lunged forward with a scream that shook reality itself. And everything went silent. Jonah opened his eyes, and found himself standing in a place he had never seen before. A place full of light. A place full of whispers. A place that seemed alive. And in the distance, two glowing figures waited, one familiar, one frightening. Jonah's brother whispered, voice trembling, "Jonah, where are we?" Jonah swallowed, heart racing. I think we're not home anymore." The light flickered. A shadow moved in the corner of his vision. And the keeper was still coming. Jonah's heart pounded like a drum in his chest. The world around him shimmered in colors he had never seen, silver mist, golden light, and faint glimmers of shapes that seemed alive. His brother squeezed his hand. "Jonah, it's so bright, and quiet. Too quiet." Jonah nodded, gripping him tighter. "I know. Something isn't right. The keeper, he's still here." Caleb's voice came from somewhere behind them, steady but strained. "Jonah, listen to me. That place you're in, it's not safe. Not completely. You need to trust the memory, and trust each other." Miss Laverne's voice followed, soft but urgent. "He can't touch you if you hold on to the bond you share. Don't let fear break it." The glowing world pulsed. Shadows slithered at the edges, creeping across the light like smoke. The keeper's voice boomed again, this time closer, sharper, colder than ever. "I will claim what belongs to me." Jonah's brother flinched. He's coming. I can feel him." Jonah swallowed. "Then we fight him, together. Like Mom said. We can't let him take you, or me, again." A faint outline appeared ahead, a door of light, tall and shimmering, radiating warmth. Jonah could feel the memory of his mother emanating from it. "She's showing us a way out," Jonah whispered. "We have to reach it." The keeper surged forward from the shadows, claws stretching like black lightning. The air around them rippled with his rage. Caleb's voice cut through the chaos. "Run, Jonah. Don't stop until you're through the door." Jonah nodded. He took his brother's hand and bolted, the silver and gold glow of the miracle box lighting their path. The shadows lashed at them, sharp, freezing, and relentless, but Jonah didn't falter. He could feel the bond to his brother, and it burned brighter than any fear. They were almost there. Then the floor beneath them cracked open. A hand, black, massive, impossibly fast, shot up and grabbed Jonah's brother by the arm. "No!" Jonah screamed, yanking desperately. Caleb reached forward from the mist, but the keeper's shadow seemed to stretch infinitely, pulling the boy upward into darkness. Jonah felt the box surge violently in his hands, golden and silver light exploding outward, filling the void. His mother's voice echoed all around. Remember him. Remember him. Remember love. Jonah screamed, clutching his brother. He could feel the memory, the bond, the life they shared, flooding into him, stronger than fear, stronger than the keeper. The shadow paused. It faltered. It hissed in fury. And then the world tilted violently. The door of light flickered. And Jonah realized he had a choice. Either step through the door with his brother, and leave something behind. Or stay, and risk losing his brother forever. Jonah's breath caught. He looked at his brother's terrified eyes. He looked at the swirling shadows closing in. And then, he stepped forward. But just as their hands touched the threshold of light, a dark tendril shot from the keeper, wrapping around Jonah's ankle. He was yanked backward into the void. His brother's scream tore through the space. Jonah clutched the miracle box and shouted, "No! I won't let you take him." The keeper loomed, taller than ever, shadows stretching endlessly. And then a voice, soft yet terrifying, whispered directly in Jonah's ear. "You can save one, but the other must be forgotten." Jonah froze. The golden and silver light of the box flared violently. His mother's whisper echoed again. "Your choice defines everything." Jonah's eyes widened. And the keeper's shadow lunged. Jonah's heart hammered in his chest like a war drum. The keeper's shadow loomed over him, immense, endless, stretching toward his brother. Its claws reached out, black as night, and the void itself seemed to scream. Jonah's brother clutched the miracle box tighter, his small hands trembling. "Jonah, what do we do?" Caleb's voice echoed from somewhere behind him, fierce and urgent. "Jonah, you have to trust the bond. You have to choose together, or you'll both be lost." Miss Laverne added, her voice trembling but strong, "Your mother's light is still here. It's in the box, and it's in both of you. Hold on to it." Jonah swallowed hard, tears streaking his cheeks. He looked at his brother, his real brother, the boy who should have always been with him. The one he had forgotten but now remembered completely. The keeper hissed, a sound that made the air itself vibrate. "Choose. One or the other." Jonah's chest heaved. His mind raced. Step through the door with his brother, and leave someone behind? Or stay and risk losing him forever? His mother's voice cut through the chaos. "Remember the love. Remember what makes you who you are." Jonah's fingers clenched the miracle box. He could feel the warmth of the golden and silver light pulsating through him, spreading into his chest, into his heart, into the bond with his brother. I remember everything," Jonah shouted. "I won't let you take him." The keeper roared. Shadows lashed across the void, twisting, clawing, and shrieking. The ground cracked beneath Jonah's feet. Then, something impossible happened. The light from the miracle box erupted into a wave of pure golden and silver fire, blasting through the shadow, forcing it backward. The keeper faltered. Jonah's mother's silhouette appeared, stronger than before, radiant and fierce. "Now," she cried. Jonah grabbed his brother's hand with both of his. Their fingers locked. Their hearts aligned. They ran toward the shimmering doorway of light together, step after step, pushing against the darkness. The keeper screeched and reached out one final time. Jonah could see it now. The shadow's claw was almost touching his brother's shoulder. He shouted with all his strength, "I remember. I remember. I remember him. The light from the miracle box exploded outward in a blinding burst. The keeper screamed, a sound of fury, rage, and defeat. Then, silence. Jonah blinked. His brother's hand was still in his. Solid. Warm. Real. Caleb and Miss Laverne appeared beside them, relief etched into their faces. The mother's silhouette shimmered softly behind them. You did it, you remembered. You held on to love. Jonah breathed, heart pounding, tears streaming. He's safe, my brother, he's really here. But as the golden and silver light settled, the doorway flickered. The shadow of the keeper lingered, not fully gone, just beyond the edge of the light. A deep, hollow voice echoed one last time. This isn't over. And I will return for the memory you hold. Jonah's brother shivered. He's not gone. Jonah clenched the miracle box. We'll be ready. The light around them flickered. The air shivered. And somewhere, just beyond the safety of the glow, the faintest ripple of darkness moved, waiting. Jonah's chest heaved, golden and silver light spilling from the miracle box and bathing the void around them. The keeper's shadow lingered at the edge, twisting, massive, and enraged, but for the first time, Jonah realized he did not need to fear it. Caleb stepped forward, eyes blazing with determination. Jonah, your mother gave you the power. The keeper is nothing without the memory he tried to steal. Miss Laverne nodded. You have each other. That bond is stronger than any shadow. Jonah took a deep breath, holding his brother's hand. He could feel every memory, every laugh, every tear they had shared, even the ones that had been hidden or forgotten. Every piece of their love for each other pulsed through him like a heartbeat. I remember everything, Jonah said, voice steady, unwavering. All of it. And I won't let you take him. The keeper shrieked, a sound like cracking stone and falling sky. The shadows surged forward, slashing, twisting, trying to break the light, but Jonah held the miracle box higher. The silver and golden glow spread outward like the rising sun, pushing the shadows back, consuming the darkness. His mother's silhouette appeared again, stronger than ever, her radiant light mingling with the miracle box. She reached out and placed her hands around Jonah and his brother. Together, she whispered. You are stronger together. Love always wins. Jonah and his brother squeezed each other's hands tightly, and the miracle box responded. The light pulsed faster, brighter, until it enveloped everything. The keeper roared, an earth-shaking, furious scream, but he could not penetrate the bond. The shadow shrank, twisting and screaming, until finally it was nothing but a ripple, and then, silence. The void around them dissolved. Jonah blinked. He was back in his bedroom. Warm sunlight poured through the window. The miracle box sat on the floor, its glow now calm and steady. Caleb knelt beside them, tears in his eyes. You did it, boys, you really did it. Miss Laverne hugged them both. It's over. You're safe. You're whole. Jonah looked at his brother, now smiling, real and solid. I remembered you. All of you. Everything. And you're here. The boy laughed softly. I never left, Jonah. I was just waiting for you to remember me. Jonah hugged him tight. I'll never forget again. I promise. A soft warmth filled the room, and the faintest whisper reached Jonah's ears, his mother's voice, gentle, comforting, and full of love. My boys, always remember love, and it will protect you. The miracle box shimmered one last time, then closed softly, a gentle chime ringing through the air. Caleb smiled through tears. Your mother's magic, her love, it's always been with you. And now it always will be. Jonah looked around at his family, Caleb, Miss Laverne, and his brother. A deep sense of peace settled over him. They had faced darkness, fear, and the impossible, and they had emerged together. He hugged his brother one last time. We're never letting anything, or anyone, come between us again. His brother grinned. Never. Not ever. Outside, the sunlight glinted on the windows. Life was ordinary again. Warm. Safe. Filled with love. And Jonah knew, finally, that some memories, no matter how painful, no matter how hidden, were meant to be kept, shared, and cherished forever. The miracle box rested quietly on the floor. But in Jonah's heart, it had already done its greatest magic. It had restored family, love, and memory. For the first time in a long time, Jonah smiled, completely, fearlessly, and freely. The shadow of the keeper was gone. The memories were safe. And the bond of family, unbreakable.